Nossa jornada de construir uma carteira e conta digital multiativos começou. Para facilitar a sua vida financeira em um único app, aqui você pode guardar, converter, usar o seu saldo quando, como e onde quiser, realizar transferências com taxa zero e investir e diversificar sua carteira, negociando e convertendo vários multiativos. Ufa! O meu bank chegou e esse é só o começo. Vamos evoluir juntos?
Olá, meu nome é Cássio, sou jornalista do Cointelegraph e atuo nesse setor de criptomoedas aí já faz um bom tempo. Também sou pai da Joana, uma menina de 5 anos que tem um sorriso maravilhoso e que tem uma alteração genética e paralisia cerebral. A gente está montando uma campanha para ajudar a Joana para fazer um tratamento para a paralisia cerebral na Rússia. Então a gente conta com o apoio de vocês e desde já queria agradecer a Exame por essa oportunidade e por esse evento maravilhoso. Valeu, pessoal, fica com os maiores nomes aí do universo de criptomoedas aí agora nesse evento. Valeu.
Olá a todos, sejam muito bem-vindos ao nosso terceiro painel aqui do dia no Crypto Week. Nós vamos falar hoje, nesse instante, com um dos maiores especialistas em Venture Capital do mundo, o Tim Draper. Ele tem várias iniciativas super interessantes e agora está vindo com tudo para esse mercado de criptoativos. Quem vai moderar esse debate é o Rodrigo de Sá, da Kraken Holding. Queria dizer para vocês que esse debate vai ser em inglês, e nesse momento a gente vai ter só a discussão em inglês, mas em breve a gente vai disponibilizar uma tradução para que vocês possam acompanhar esse painel que é super valioso, tá? Então, antes de mais nada, eu vou passar a bola aqui para os dois e eles vão falar em inglês, então a discussão vai ser conduzida dessa forma. Rodrigo, welcome. Tim Draper, welcome as well.
Great, thanks for having me on the show.
Great, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, we're really excited. Tim, I'm super excited to have you here with us today. We are taking the audience on a journey from understanding what are the basic principles of blockchain technology, of crypto, why is the market like this right now, what is the future, and bringing from jurisdictions like Malta to VC like yourself, to the main applications of the technology and founders, co-founders of amazing companies. So I'm super excited to have you here today. But Tim, I'll just ask you to, like, in a very short sentence, to introduce yourself on what you are right now. We know you've been investing in amazing companies from Tesla to SpaceX to Skype, and I'm super curious to learn how did you get into crypto?
And Coinbase.
Coinbase. And congratulations.
And that's worked out all right.
Super excited to talk about that as well. Yeah.
Good. So, yeah, I'm a venture capital investor and have been doing it for many years. I got an opportunity to participate in the growth of the internet and all of the changes that happened with the internet. And then I seem to have I was actually looking for it, but I seem to have stumbled on the opportunity to make a big, huge impact by participating in Bitcoin blockchain smart contracts. And this is potentially the biggest thing that's ever happened to humanity, at least in my lifetime. I think we're going through an anthropological leap. But I also started a school called Draper University of Heroes. And if you're an entrepreneur and you think you need a little bit of encouragement. We've got that, and then we have a show called Meet the Drapers, where we have entrepreneurs come on the show, and then they can be crowdfunded, and they're crowdfunded by the viewers. So it's a whole new way of looking at how a TV show or a web show can be. And so, I'm always looking to innovate. I'm always looking to build new ways of creating value for people and move humanity forward and educate humanity. And so that's me.
That's what really gets me excited about such names like yourself. As I've mentioned before, most probably in the audience in the last days, I'm a super supporter. I mentor some of your programs, some of the companies you accelerate. So I'm super excited about the work you do. And so tell us, how did you get into blockchain and crypto?
Well, way back when, I met a guy who was Korean, and he said that about half the country of Korea is playing this game called Lineage. I think it was called Lineage. And I thought, well, that's great. And he said, yeah, in fact, it's so important that I pay a guy to be my avatar when I am at work. And then he said, and I bought a sword for my son. And I thought, for a birthday present, and I thought that was a non sequitur. And he goes, yeah, and I paid $40. And I said, what do you mean? So you bought him a sword? And he said, no, it's pixels on a screen. It's not really a sword. I mean, a picture of a sword. And he, right. And that was when it dawned on me that money, first, fiat money could be paid for digital items, and that there could be digital money too, and there was money in that game. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And he's living a part of his life in this virtual world. So I was looking around. I thought the games would all communicate. And so gold in one place would equal diamonds in another, or whatever in the game world. But it turned out that Bitcoin came and pretty much took that whole market by storm and became a whole new way of looking at currency. And suddenly we had a currency that was trusted and open and transparent, virtual, global, frictionless. I mean, suddenly we had an amazing currency. And then the next step was that I bought some, and then I lost it into Mt. Gox. And I thought, oh, well, that must be the end of Bitcoin. And it turns out that was just the beginning, because even though that was the biggest exchange and it shattered everybody's trust, Bitcoin's value only dropped about 10% on the news. And so I started digging in, and I thought, well, what are people using this for? And it turned out, yeah, it was remittances, people sending money to other people around the world. It was paying people remotely. It was micropayments, so all those things. But there was something else, and it was all about trust. My friend from Argentina said, look, I've been in Argentina all my life, and during that time, my parents have made a fortune, and it's been lost to inflation 3 times. Made it, lost it, made it, lost it, made it, lost it. And he said, I'm only 30 years old. So every decade, his family has lost their fortune, and they keep building it and losing it. Well, that made me start thinking, wow, this currency could be a store of value, a way for people to trust that their hard work would be valuable down the road, and they could hold on to that value. And Bitcoin, only having 21 million out there, does cement that store of value. And so people in Argentina and Nigeria and Venezuela all were starting to say, hey, this is my store of value. And that was the beginning. And that's where I really got involved. And then I saw that the Silk Road, that the U.S. Marshal's Office had confiscated the Silk Road Bitcoin and that they were auctioning it off. And all my friends who were bidding on it were all talking about what a discount they could get on Bitcoin. And I thought, discount, I'm not so sure I want a discount. If I pay an extra 10% here, that's not going to make any difference. It's either going to go down to zero or it's going to be a critical part of humanity and a big part of the currencies of the world. And if it's a big part of the currencies of the world, this thing's going to be worth a lot. And turns out it's gone that way.
Exactly. And even myself, I mean, in the beginning, I was going to invest some money. I decided last minute not to, and oh God, it showed me I was completely wrong about it. But the good thing is that by
The way I look
starting
at it
small,
is
really,
it's never too late, Rodrigo. Never too
true.
late.
That's true. That's that's true. I mean, 6 years ago, I finally started, but as you're saying, it's never too late. And I always say, start small so you understand how you do it, so you understand the market, right? Because people from all over the world is coming into this, and some of them think, oh, sell my house and go all over into this. And it's really about the process of understanding what does it mean a risk investment, right? And how do you see
It's
Bitcoin?
interesting.
And
It's
sorry, go ahead.
interesting that only 1 out of 14 Bitcoin wallets are owned by a woman, and women control 80% of retail spending. So once Bitcoin becomes a part of our retail activity, I think there's going to be a huge rush to Bitcoin, particularly knowing that when people pay for something in Bitcoin, they don't have to pay 2.5% to 4% to the banks. So I think we're
Exactly.
looking at a really interesting time where over the next couple of years, and oh, by the way, I was buying a house, and the guy who was selling it to me said, "Well, we'll take Bitcoin," and I said, "No way." But there will be a time when people say, "I'll take Bitcoin," and people will pay in Bitcoin, and that's starting to happen with OpenNode and what's it called, BitLast, that are two programs that allow the retailer to accept Bitcoin and the transfers to happen faster than the Visa network. So it's starting to happen. That's going to be a big move. So if you don't have a Bitcoin wallet yet, I'm sure you will.
That's a good tip right there, folks. I would just follow it. Tim, and I was thinking, it was a good point that you brought up about the transactions, the operations, running, accepting coins, and so on. What do you see as an interesting move that I saw from PayPal accepting crypto? How do you see that to the market?
I think that's just the beginning. And I think Square also accepts Bitcoin, and many other payment systems now accept Bitcoin. and so that's great for the retail payment. But if you're a fiduciary for money and you are holding, let's say you're holding Venezuelan Bolivar, you have to be starting to look at Bitcoin as an alternative, because you're seeing a currency that is going to drop 50%, 70% a year in value, and as a fiduciary, that's not acceptable. Even if you're holding dollars, U.S. dollars, the U.S. has just printed trillions and trillions of dollars. Well, the people who had dollars before they printed all those dollars are much poorer relatively than they were before, because now there are many, many more dollars out there. But the ones who are holding Bitcoin, still one Bitcoin is worth one Bitcoin. And people say, oh, it's very volatile. And I say, no, here's your Bitcoin, and all these other currencies are very volatile as they slowly disappear from view. And people have asked me, well, when are you going to sell your Bitcoin? And I say, what are you thinking? Into what? Why would I sell my Bitcoin when I'm going to take the currency that is going to be the currency of the future, and I'm going to translate that somehow into the currency of the past? Why would I walk backwards?
Exactly.
I don't want to take my dollars and turn them into Confederate dollars. I don't want to take my euros and turn them into drachma. And I don't want to take my Bitcoin and turn it into dollars.
Definitely. And we saw CZ from the founder of Binance mentioning another day. I also had a good conversation with him about, he even mentioned like a digital yuan, right? And how government should definitely go into it. Do you see a foreseeable future where governments will come into crypto? There will be a mass adoption. What do you see that as a future or a strategy for a country?
I was just talking to the ambassador to Uruguay, and that's a very free and open country in Latin America. And he was asking, well, what would be good messages for people for a government to send out to people to say, hey, we're open for business. And first I thought, well, yeah, accept Bitcoin as a national currency the way Japan did and the way Malta does. And then I said, and then put 5G everywhere. But then I said, you could send a very strong message if you took some of your national treasury and bought Bitcoin with it. And that would do two things. One is you might be able to pay back your entire national debt as all the other currencies start declining in value due to inflation and to poor governance. But at the same time, you'd be sending a message that, yeah, we're open for business. We are looking for those crypto engineers. We're looking for those smart contract engineers, those blockchain engineers, anybody who's working around Bitcoin. We are trying to show the world that we are open for business. And so he's going to take that back, and we'll see what happens with it. But I think that you'll see two reactions to Bitcoin. You're going to see people who want to go back to tribalism, and they want to be kings of tribes. And then you're going to see the people who are looking out for the good of their own country, these leaders who are looking out for the good of their own country, who are saying, yes, we need this. We know that this will be great for our people over the next century. And we want to be open for business. We want to be open to the world for business. We don't want to put up restrictive clauses. We don't want to stop trade. We want trade to go forward, and we want a currency that is global and open and everyone knows the value of. So I think that you're going to start seeing the best of governments do things like buy some for their national treasury, make Bitcoin a national currency or a currency that is accepted nationally, allow Bitcoin to be a payment for taxes, particularly if I have this great vision that long term I'm going to be able to, as a venture capitalist, raise money, put it all into Bitcoin, and then invest that money in Bitcoin in all the portfolio companies, and then tell those companies, pay your employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, so we can have actually a whole closed system in Bitcoin that is perfectly audited, perfectly accounted for, perfect bookkeeping, is all built on a smart contract, so there are no arguments one way or another. That system could also build in and pay your taxes. So I think governments will start to see that they can actually make more money, and money that is more valuable, by taxing in Bitcoin when people keep a closed system of Bitcoin. This is going to be an amazing transformation for the world, and I can see over the next 10 or 20 years the fiat currencies slowly disappearing from use, and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies become really the mainstream way of operating. And that is a very exciting future, because we will all know what the value of a Bitcoin is. And I suspect it'll be a lot higher than it is right now.
Definitely, I can see that coming. I was in 2019. I gave in Uganda in Africa. I gave a speech at a conference, their blockchain conference, and I was so excited about such a country that has so many opportunities to leapfrog, right, into new technologies. I mean, it's basically unbanked most of the regions. Is there a region of the country or a specific country that that gets you more excited about advances in adoption of blockchain and crypto?
Yeah, I think any place where trust in the government has been challenged. Well, first of all, the U.S. is using this, and it's fabulous everywhere. But and Japan jumped in very quickly, and that was very clever of them. And Malta and Switzerland, Gibraltar, they've all jumped in. Those were more advanced countries, many of them. But I think some less advanced countries are less advanced for the following reason. If you build something of value and you think your government is going to take it from you, either by force or through inflation, you don't have an incentive to build anything of value. Instead, you want to just sort of live for today. But if you see something like Bitcoin and you say, oh, hey, I can store value there, then suddenly you say, I am motivated to work, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to build something of great value, and I'm going to store that value in Bitcoin. That's a whole new thing. So the opportunities are wherever there was bad governance, wherever there is inflationary system, wherever governments come and use force to take value. I think those are the places where people will say, look, I can build value, I can store it in Bitcoin, so it's worth it for me to work hard and create great value. And interestingly, those governments are going to do very well. Yes, you can leapfrog. I mean, if I had to pay you, if I owed you money right now, and I don't even know, I'd have to call my assistant to call the bank, to have the bank wire some money, and then you'd have to accept the wire and whatever. Or I can just take out my phone and go, hey, yeah, show me your QR code, and boom, I'm done. And
that's it.
We've just made the transaction.
Right.
That is so much better. And we can, so you can build some amazing value and keep it with Bitcoin. And I think that is, that's going to make it a really important part of our world economy. And I think it's going to help us leap from a tribal world to a global world where, these geographic borders start to mean less and less and less.
And it's frictionless.
Frictionless. The banks don't take 2.5% to 4% when you swipe that credit card. So that the retailers are going to like that a lot.
Exactly. We've been talking a lot about Bitcoin and why it's more reliable, why it is reliable. But when we look at all the coins available in the market, we even had an amazing launch in the beginning of this week of USD Sports that is owned by Kraken Holding, that's leading the event, which I'm super excited about. How do you evaluate what kind of coin, what kind of projects is behind it when you decide on an investment, we decided to really go into that project?
Well, yeah, we were. I was early in Bitcoin, and then I was early in Tezos and Bancor, and then after that, because they came to me, those were two of the first ICOs. What I look for now is there a reason for the currency to exist? Is there a reason that people will want to buy that currency? And is there a good engineering team behind that currency? And so I've been very selective. I've chosen very carefully which other currency, because Bitcoin is really going to be the store of value and probably the main retail currency out there for years to come. Maybe there'll be a challenger, but for years to come. But the other currencies, I look and I say, what's the purpose of this currency? Aragon, pretty interesting currency, because what they're doing is they're using a cryptocurrency as a system to build a system for creating a jury, and then it could kind of evolve to a liquid democracy. And that could be a new way for the world to operate as a liquid democracy. And so I'm kind of excited about what they're doing there. I'm excited about Tezos because they focused on smart contracts, and it's light touch, and you can have many trades very quickly,
Right.
Because it's light touch and it doesn't require proof of work. It's all proof of stake, and it goes much quicker. And it's kind of its own democracy, or its own form of government too. I like Maker is kind of interesting because it's an insurance policy that insures against a catastrophic drop in the price of Ethereum. And I think that's kind of interesting too. So I think there are some really good currencies out there that do specific things. And then you have to look at the underlying team and what that team, how dedicated they are, how important it is to them to have this currency work. And then it's worth making the bet. I still believe that the vast majority of use will be in Bitcoin, and now it's getting institutional support. So I think we're moving toward a Bitcoin economy.
Right. Yeah. The more I see the applications of blockchain and the crypto that we're seeing, it's exciting to me. We're looking at real estate, transportation. It really excites me. What are the markets that could be? I hate this word, disrupt. There's no such disruption. You create innovation, right? It's rare to get some other technology obsolete. But what are the things that really excite you right now? The markets that you are looking at.
Yeah, I started to use the word transformation instead of disruption. So I thought it's really more what happens, because it takes a long time. It's a long transformation. Well, I think Bitcoin came with these other technologies. First, there was Bitcoin, the currency that transforms the banking world, because you have now a trusted third party for currency. And then you have the blockchain, and that is a trusted system that keeps perfect records. So it transforms what we need to do for accounting and auditing and bookkeeping. And then there are smart contracts that were built on top of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and those are are an opportunity to put a contract into software and make it so that there's no wiggle room, there's no position for an argument when the contract's done, because it's all built into the software. And if this is the outcome, this is the way all the Bitcoin drops into all the Bitcoin wallets. So I think that'll transform the way sort of producers pay all the people who work on a movie. There's no reason for them to send out a check with for 25 cents that costs them about $8 to send. I think the other things that can happen if you add artificial intelligence and surveillance, you could have a perfect insurance company, because you can you can do this. Right now when you pay for insurance, you pay your premium every year, every month, whatever. Pay your premium, and then you have a claim, and then you fight your insurance company, and then finally the insurance company sends you a check for some amount. Well, what if an insurance company did this? You pay your premium, and surveillance shows that your house burned down. There is a check there is Bitcoin in your Bitcoin wallet before you even knew your house burned down. That's the insurance company I'd like to sign up for.
Right.
And I think that that's in effect going to be the future of insurance. And if that's the future of insurance, I started thinking, well, what is government? But it's a series of insurance companies. It's your healthcare insurance, it's your medical, and it's your workman's comp insurance, it's your unemployment insurance, it's your pension, your healthcare, your Social Security. That's at 80% of what a government is doing is an insurance policy. Well, what if you set up an insurance policy 11 miles offshore or up in space that was better than anything the government could possibly provide? Well, suddenly there's a new form of government there, and all the governments of the world are going to have to figure out how to improve themselves to be more accountable to their people, and have to compete with that government that's up in space or 11 miles offshore. And then these other governments are going to have, they're going to have to do that. And that's 80% of what they do. The other 20%, they're going to have to improve too, because people now can travel, they can move with their feet. And I know there's a big flood of people going into Uruguay from other South American countries because the other South American countries are not providing good government. What is a good government? It's so simple. It's trust and freedom. You provide trust to your people and you provide freedom to your people, and you will have a country, the richest country in the world.
Right.
And I'll give you proof. One is Singapore. It was the least trusted country in the world, and they were the poorest, or among the poorest. And Lee Kuan Yew came in there and systematically built trust into that system, and they became the wealthiest per capita, one of the top two anyway countries in the world. And that was like 70 years. Another 70-year experiment is one around freedom. My dad fought in Korea, and between the two Koreas, there is something called the demilitarized zone. No one crosses that border. So we have a perfect experiment of two different kinds of government. The North Koreans were a socialist dictatorship. Government told all the people exactly what they had to do all the time. They controlled where the money went, where the food went, where all those things went. They were totally Marxist, Leninist program. South Korea was a free market, capitalistic, democracy, open, freedom system. Okay, you go 70 years into that, And what has happened? Well, the average South Korean makes 460 times as much as the average North Korean. And that is when even adding purchasing power to the money they've earned. And the average South Korean is now 4 inches taller than the average North Korean. So it's pretty clear. You create a government that is trustworthy and one that allows freedom for its citizens, and you have a government that everyone will want to flock to, will build huge economic value, and everyone around you will be wealthy. It's a simple system, and I don't understand why people don't study this and see that this works.
Right.
But it's
imagine voting.
And here's what's great about Bitcoin. What's great about Bitcoin is it's freedom and it's trust, and it permeates the globe. It transcends any geographic borders, and so we are moving toward a new form of humanity, and we're all going to be a part of it, and we're all a part of this globe, and eventually these dictatorships and these places where people don't trust their leadership are going to go away, and what's going to replace it is a free and open government.
Imagine about voting. Imagine about the clarity that you can give companies, due diligence processes. It's really all the CEOs I've been talking to and the politicians. I always tell them, if you're not looking into blockchain and crypto, you're missing it out. You're missing the point. You're definitely going to stay in medieval times, because it's really transformative. And I'm going to use that word more from now on.
Yeah, good. I think it's about
definitely. On one point, so we've been seeing also the tokenization of stocks, tokenization of equity. What's your view on that?
I think it's great. I think the more liquidity in a system, the wealthier the system. If we were still carrying around bags of shells to trade for whatever it is that we're trading for, we would be in the dark ages. And even if we were carrying around bags of gold, that's way in the dark ages. As trust was added and people started to move from gold to the promise of gold, to a ledger of gold, to a ledger of silver, to the full faith and credit of a government, to now to Bitcoin, each of those was a new leap forward, and a new level of trust that allowed for better economic growth. And I think we're going to see enormous economic growth led by this new form of trust in a currency. Right.
And I'm very excited about the projects that are coming in.
It's not, yeah, I mean, this currency is not tied to any government, any political force, it is basically just, it's trusted by a group of people, and that group of people is growing by the day.
Right. And you invested in Coinbase, and I'm also super excited for you on the success of that. Can you just tell us about how do you see the impact of that in the market, in all the exchanges? Because we see all the fights with the jurisdictions, right? And I think it's a major success for the entire industry.
I think everybody's better off because of Coinbase. I think the U.S. government is better off. They now have a trusted system where people can move their Bitcoin in and out and other cryptocurrencies in and out. They have and Coinbase is people say it's just a trading platform. It's not. It's all the things. It's your custody. It's your the trust in your currency. It's your bank. It can be your insurance company. It can be so many different things. And so it is so well positioned for a long-term future. I'm very excited about what Brian Armstrong and his team have done there. It looks like it could end up being. My sons and I often talk about what are going to be the biggest companies in the world in one decade, and Coinbase is always on that list.
Amazing. I'm excited for you, and it's indeed a great project. We have some questions from the audience online that are watching us. The first one, they're asking you to comment on Ethereum, about the technology. How do you see the future of it? Any remarks you have about it?
I think Ethereum is the pioneer in smart contracts. I actually think that Tezos and Polkadot are kind of the coming up from behind and with better service and better platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is important to have a platform where people can experiment and do interesting things. And Ethereum has been that platform. It's been a sandbox. And I think it's been great, and people still pay for gas. So there is still a demand for Ethereum. And it is counted as one of the currencies in the US. I am less enthusiastic about its future than a lot of people are, but because I think that some of these more specialized currencies are going to chew away at its market. But I think it's just, it's great. I think they're all great. And it's very clear that Bitcoin is the dominant force for currency, for store of value, and ultimately for trading, and for buying and selling at retail. But I believe that Ethereum was kind of the early had the early lead and allowed a lot of other engineers and innovators to come and grab a lot of its market share.
Right. Yeah, I'm really fond about how they're trying to apply blockchain all over the world. I'm super interested about what's coming. But we still have a last one question from the audience, and it's really about they're saying, we have Luciana, for instance, saying, I'm not afraid about the volatility, but I'm really afraid about the hackers. Do you think that big companies arriving in this market right now are trying to help to bring more safety, more security to us? What do you think about that safety aspect?
Well, I think the banks have been hacked a lot more than any Bitcoin. Your banker is getting hacked and hacked because that technology is old technology. Fortunately, to date, the Bitcoin blockchain, knock on wood, has never been hacked. And I think that the only hacks are usually when people are sort of sloppy with their Bitcoin. I mean, look, once it's in a Coinbase wallet or in a ledger, it's not hackable. So I think it's just people are there are these people who take identity and then they pretend they're somebody else, and then they say, hey, send me some Bitcoin, but they're asking for fiat dollars more often because they can't be traced. There's another thing people don't get. At first, people were using Bitcoin for criminal activities, but now the criminals know that the blockchain keeps perfect records. So you're always going to be caught if you do some criminal activity on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Right.
So that is not happening anymore, but people are still using cash for that kind of thing. And so I would be a lot more afraid. I am more concerned about my cash in the bank than I am about my Bitcoin with Coinbase, Ledger, wherever I keep it.
Nice. Thanks for the feedback. Now we're running out of time, but just my last question to you. What are the 1 or 2 things that are keeping you super excited about from your projects, from what you've been investing in? What can you share about that?
Well, there are 3 companies that come to mind. And one I mentioned already is OpenNode, that allows the retailer to accept Bitcoin easily and make those translations and not have to pay the banks the 2.5% to 4% every time somebody swipes a credit card. Another one is Cryptio, and what they're doing is they're taking the blockchain and applying accounting methods to that blockchain so that we can make the translation so that businesses can have their accounting done automatically on the blockchain if they operate completely in Bitcoin. And the third one is Unstoppable Domains, and that is taking the blockchain and making it so that everyone can, that all social media, all NFTs, everything can be decentralized. And that means that you can go buy Rodrigo.crypto and you can own that forever and no one can take it down, and you can say whatever you want to say on Rodrigo.crypto. You can also store your NFTs in there. You can buy a series of NFTs. Anyway, Unstoppable Domain sure looks like it's going to be a monster winner. And I'm excited about Coinbase. My gosh, it's the first real public company in the crypto space. It's not the first, but it is the first real serious public company in the crypto space, and that is going to transform the world.
Exactly. Super excited. Tim, I really appreciate your availability. Thank you so much for this discussion. I'm pretty sure it was pretty informative for the audience. And thank you so much for being available. I'm super excited to see what you're going to invest next. Take care, my friend.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, Crypto Week. This was great fun.
Thank you so much.